In this lesson, we're going to add a spinning light to our scene in order to illuminate the character, so let's get into our IDE and code it out. We'll go to the place where we typed in our create scene code, and after all the animation state stuff, we'll start the process of making the lights. We're just going to make a simple point light, so let's create an instance of our light object, type in light, and then we'll just pass in, we'll just set it up as a pointer variable, we'll just call it light1. And now we'll have the scene manager create the light for us. So just type in m scene manager, m scene mgr, and we'll have it create the light. So just type in create light. We'll supply a unique name, so I'll just call it my light1. You can call it whatever you please. And now let's set the type to a point light. Type in light1 set type. So we'll set the type, open the parentheses, and we'll need to supply the light type in here. So let's just get that from the light class. Type in light colon, and then LT underscore, and now we can just select LT point from our IntelliSense list here. You can type in LT underscore point, end it with another parentheses, and now the light's type is going to be a point light, which is pretty good for the application we're going to be doing, we're going to apply just shortly. Now let's go ahead and place the light in space. So we'll give it a nice position. Type in light1 set position, and now we'll need to supply a vector data so we can give it an XYZ position. Let's type in vector3. Let's give it 100 in the X, 100 in the Y, and 100 in the Z. Pretty simple. So we have our light set up, but just as we have done with our entity, we'll need to put the light inside of a scene node. So we can make the scene node in here, but we want to animate our light with that scene node. So instead of placing it in here, we'll set it up like we did with the animation state. We'll go ahead and declare that scene node up here so that it can be accessed in the listener. Let's start the process. We'll declare it scene node asterisk light node. And now we'll just go ahead and scroll back down to our create scene code, and we'll set up the light node. So let's type in light node, small l, light node is equal to m scene manager, and then we'll just go in here and get the root. So get the root scene node, and then we'll just ask it to create a new child scene node for us. So create child scene node, just as we've done before, but this time we'll go ahead and give it a name. So we'll just call this our rotator or our revolver, whatever you want to call it. But now this part's pretty important. We're going to go ahead and set the node's position in space. We're going to set its position to be the same as that of our characters, and we can do that by sending in the node's position. So we can set the light node's position to our node's position. We'll just need to pass in the node information, so let's type in here node get position, open and close parentheses, and then we'll just close off our create child scene node parentheses here. So what we've done here is we've made a light node that's placed at our character's position, but the cool thing is we're going to go in here and put in a light that's been displaced by 100 units in space in each of its axes. So the cool thing is once we start rotating this light node, the light's position is going to be way off, but it's going to go ahead and spin around our character. So it's much like a planet revolving around the sun. We've got our light node spinning at its center, but our light position, our actual light is offset in space. Once it starts rotating, the light will start to revolve around that particular center. Now let's go in and attach our object in here. So light node attach object, pass in light1. So our light1 is at this position, and once our light node starts to spin, it's going to revolve around that point. And that's how we can get our spinning light. But we're not done yet because we actually need to start rotating our light node. This can be done in our frame started function here in the class listener, in the frame listener rather. Let's go down in here and rotate the light node. Let's come down in light node and then rotate. That's just the function we need to use, rotate. And now we'll need to specify the axis of rotation. So type in vector3, and I'll just pass in 0, 1, 0 just to get it to rotate only in the y direction. Put comma, and now we'll need to supply an angle of rotation, or by how many degrees we'll have it rotate. We're going to use degrees instead of radians, so let's just pass that in. degree, and let's give it a nice value like 25. And now let's just multiply this 25 with the amount of time, with the time since last frame. So we'll just do event dot time since last frame. So we've got that set in here. Let's run this and see what we get. So it's going to take a couple of moments, and hopefully we have, seems like we have no errors, so that's good. Let's run this, and it should pop up any moment. There we go. I'm going to go ahead, hit the W key, and move into our character. And now we can see the lights moving because the shading on the character seems to be shifting. So that's cool. Our character's light is moving around, but there is a little bit of a problem here. It looks like the shader is not working correctly, because if it's a pixel shader, you'd expect the shading to be a little bit nice and smooth, but it's a little bit harsh, and it doesn't even look like there's any normal mapping going on here. So there's something wrong, and the reason why it's behaving like this is because we haven't provided any tangent information so that for the normal map shader, or our normal parallax map shader to use. The reason, if you remember earlier, when we exported the character from Ogre, we didn't ask it to send out the normal and tangent information. So what we'll need to do is we'll need to use the code and supply it manually. We'll go in and take care of that in the next lesson. It's going to be a little bit of code, so I'll see you in the next lesson.